Mistakes are part of life. It's part of our human existence, and they should be expected. So why then is it when most of us make a mistake, we feel shame, guilt, disappointment, and fear? Well, your feelings are a direct reflection of your thoughts. What are your thoughts about mistakes? If you think about the last time that you made a mistake, what did your brain tell you about that? Be honest. Was your natural thought, mistakes are so normal, not a big deal? Or what were you thinking? You should have known better than that. So many of us default to that second way of thinking. What if I told you I don't believe it's your fault? Because we are in a society that has trained us to believe mistakes are to be avoided at all costs. How can we change that thought process and overcome your fear of making mistakes and embrace imperfection? Hello and welcome to the Crazy Confidence Coach podcast. This is Heather Edwards and I am your host. This podcast is all about all things confidence, the things that impact your relationships, your work life, your personal life, and how you take care of you. Are you tired of feeling like you're in survival mode? Maybe you're stressed, overwhelmed, or just filled with anxiety. Let me help you find your life where you are thriving, where you're fully aligned with your purpose, and you're clear about your goals and aspirations. Lastly, let's go find that life where you have reclaimed your confidence. Grab a pen and paper, your favorite coffee, and let's get to it. The fear of making a mistake is incredibly powerful. It can prevent us from trying new things, and it's intimately tied to our fear of judgment from others. How do we turn mistakes into a good thing? What can we do to build the confidence that we need to make a mistake and move on? First things first, we need to understand, where do our fear of mistakes come from? Think back to the history of your mistake making. If I had to guess, you had somebody in a position of power in your life that taught you to fear mistakes, or was extremely critical of you when you made mistakes and you didn't like the way that felt when they talked to you or they treated you in a certain way. Let me give you an example for me. My 5th grade math teacher used to be extremely critical. And there was one time I had raised my hand, I answered the question incorrect, and he made fun of me in front of the entire class. Now, keep in mind, until this point, I was honors in math, made excellent grades, straight A's, never had any problems feeling confident in math. And at this point, you can see my grades plummet in math. It just impacted my self-esteem that much because he was extremely rude. He made a comment that was completely inappropriate, but it embarrassed me and it made me feel less than. I sometimes wonder, had that not happened, how my life would have been different if I would have used math more in my life, because at that point, or after that point, I just stopped doing anything that required me to mess with anything that had to do with math. My fear was I would make a mistake again, get made fun of, be embarrassed, and generally feel bad if I made another mistake related to math or anything similar to that. So think about your life. What has happened in your life that has helped you frame your way of dealing with mistakes? Have you been taught to believe that mistakes are unacceptable? Do you believe that people who make mistakes are somehow not as professional, or maybe they're just not as good? All of those thoughts that you have are thoughts that impact how you believe about you when you make a mistake. Now you have thought through what might be creating your fear of mistakes. Once you have that figured out, you don't have to obsess about it or worry about it or even go back to someone who's created that for you. You just need to understand where it came from so you can now start working on your thoughts moving forward to help you let go of that fear. One of the things that you want to do when you're faced with making a mistake is to just remember you're human. Not one single human is perfect. All humans make mistakes. Let go of comparing yourself and your mistakes to other people and their mistakes. I guarantee you, you don't have a list of all the mistakes they've made and how they've dealt with them. It's just simply not something that we have access to, and that's great. That's okay. Just remember your humanness and allow yourself to move on from that. The next thing I would say is it's really important to get comfortable sharing with someone else that you made a mistake when you made it. The reason I say to do this is it takes you out of the fear of someone finding out because someone already has found out. Create relationships with one or two people that you can trust to go share when things happen that are uncomfortable for you. Then you're going to want to learn how to brainstorm solutions. Brainstorming solutions is great because when you make a mistake, the main thing your brain wants to do is tell you how bad you are, how, oh my goodness, you didn't do this right. But when you learn that you can correct mistakes and you learn, oh, even when I make a mistake, I can find solutions and correct it, you stop being so afraid of the mistake because you trust yourself to find the solution and actually implement the solution. You become the trusted source for yourself to do what you need to do, and you stop fearing the mistake itself. The last thing to remember is to always, always, always use your mistake to figure out what you can do better next time. Don't just solve the problem, but also make sure you take note of what can I do better next time. Look, making mistakes is not your problem. How you think about making the mistake is the problem. If you can create trust in yourself to solve problems and solve mistakes when they happen, you don't fear them as much. So create a clear process for yourself when you make a mistake, how you're going to deal with it, and tackle it the same way every single time, and you will have less to fear when you make a mistake. All right, I want to share some closing thoughts that I came across. Some of the best recipes, like chocolate chip cookies, were invented from someone who made a mistake. There have been so many things that have been discovered due to a mistake. I really want to encourage you to be okay with making mistakes. Just make sure that you're learning from them and that you're passing your knowledge forward, and we can all benefit from other people's mistakes and our own mistakes. Don't get caught up in perfectionism because perfectionism is simply the removal of imperfection, and mistakes absolutely do not equal failure. Keep mistaking it forward and you will be fine. Thank you so much for joining me. Would you do me a huge favor? Will you share this podcast with 3 people you think might find the podcast helpful? To be totally honest, I have yet to meet one person who doesn't have at least one area of their life that couldn't use a crazy confidence boost. Hey, if you want to fast track your crazy confidence journey, let's hop on a call and figure out what's holding you back. Maybe you are struggling with feeling overwhelmed or feeling like you aren't enough. Do you want a big raise and don't know how to ask for it? Or are you just tired of feeling insecure with friends or your spouse? Whatever you're struggling with, I can help you. Go to www.thecrazyconfidencecoach.com to schedule your free discovery call today. Hope to see you here next week. Love you big.